Howdy chaps, welcome back to a fantastic video. Unfortunately it has been some time since my last video. I've just been busy and getting lots of stuff done, but none of it has been film worthy. Also, as most people know, doing YouTube is horrendously expensive. Not really, but to put out good content it costs money, and I've been trying to save like a good little boy. So I haven't actually been spending heaps, but I've been doing lots of cheap, smaller jobs on the EJ, yeah, and on the tank. So hopefully you might enjoy this episode. It's probably going to be more of an update. Follow along. Now, I'm not entirely sure I should be showing this piece of information. Don't go stealing people's cars, but to open a bonnet of an EJ Holden, you only need a steel ruler. So I don't have a bonnet cable in this at the moment, but the bonnet does have a catch, and the latch is actually on the car, and the bonnet is in the down position. So with a little bit of wiggling, there's a fly in the camera, you can open these with just a steel ruler. Don't go stealing people's cars. You never saw this. Alrighty, you might notice it's looking pretty darn complete in here. Just to re-hook up the battery. I still haven't got a voltage regulator that functions properly. This one only functions occasionally. The other one I had the other day doesn't function at all, and there's a third one that I doubt is going to work. So I think for reliability of this car might end up with a alternator, unless some Holden people out there know where to get those things reconditioned, or a modern equivalent that does the same job to make the generator work, because these generators are horrifically efficient at charging, but if that doesn't work, then they don't work. Either they overcharge or undercharge or do all sorts of stuff, but at the moment it's only charging a little bit. Still some fine tuning. I need to move the temperature sender from the back one to the front one, to the back one to the back and forth. I put them in the wrong spot because I'm an idiot. I got my choke cable working. I fitted the reverse light switch set up there, but I haven't actually wired it in yet because I haven't finished. Put new bushes in the steering gear selector, and I noticed there was those nylon, I guess you call them guides, that go in there, and I thought, I don't think I've ever seen an EJ with them in, and I know why. One, they're really hard to fit, but two, they fall out when you look at them sideways, and I know the way that it's designed, the sort of linkage it does that one, over time it gets wider and wider, because obviously you're pulling it into gears, and it bends slightly a little bit each time, and eventually they get wide enough that those things just bloop, fall out. They don't actually stop it from selecting gears, like, at all. I think they just help, you know, alleviate a little bit of horrifying noise. But I put a kit through there, it's got new bushes. Down on the gearbox, I noticed there was a little bit of slop where the linkage comes out. I stuck a washer behind that, took all the slop out of it, made it beautiful. So we got that, tail shafts in, gave that a bit of a tickle, and bled up the clutch. The clutch line that I had had a shonky end on it, so I had to re-tap that, and then it was all good. Can't tell you how long the clutch slave or the clutch line, the rubber line that goes into the clutch slave, is going to last, because they didn't exactly look healthy, but I know they worked from when I got the car, and they still work now, so see how that goes. I know the front had new rubber lines in the brakes. I knew the wheel cylinders had been done. I think it actually even had new shoes in the front, and there's no holes in any of the brake lines, so, and that's obviously a new master cylinder, and the brakes did work when I got it. So this car actually ran, drove and stopped. If you go back you can find the original video, but here we are again, running after more than 2 years apart. Still have to get this repaired, but it does work well enough to allow it to run, so, and not overheat. So it just dribbles out one of the little fins, so neither here nor there. Still need to get an exhaust for it, but that's not going to stop us from running it and driving it. And I'll put my rear door on. I'm still trying to, I don't know what happened to Rare Spares and their stock of door skins, but when I bought that door skin you could buy all 4, but for some reason at the moment they only have that door skin, and they had a distinct impression they weren't going to redo full door skins, and the ones that are available are a little bit pricey. And there are cheaper ones, I noticed, but then one person put me onto the thing saying that the cheaper ones don't have the pressing that's in the door around here. So, and then there was another mob who were doing them, but I suspect the person who was doing them actually might have died, so they may not be available anymore. So, I mean, if I could find really immaculate doors, I'd just buy them and give them a tickle and put them on, but door skins are proving to be a little bit troublesome. Look at that dashboard, beautiful. I have painted the inside of the glove box, so I've just got to do the outside and then I can bolt that on. I had the ages ago, I had the indicator stalk and the gear selector re-chromed, and they look beautiful. Yes, so what we're going to do now is fire this up, get it warmed up, because it's an old car, and then I'm going to drive this out and take it for a couple of laps of the car park, because I'm going to. See you in a second. Well, I don't know about you guys, but that was a pretty spectacular moment for me. Gee, that was fun. I'm almost emotional. Like, I drove this like less than that when I got this, because it was, when I got this thing, as you're watching the video, it didn't exactly, it ran not very well, and it had a heater tap fitting in the block there that was leaking water, and I couldn't do too much, and I think the radiator was terrible, so it never really ran for any length of time. So, you know, when I got it, I was able to drive it up and down the car park maybe once, I think, or twice. But that was the longest I've driven this car up and down the car park. I got second gear a couple of times, which was pretty good. I was very happy to feel how it selected from first to second. It just straight in there. I was like, ah, beautiful. So a few little mods that I did. I'm actually particularly fond of the one, I don't know, you can't see it down there, but the way the selector shaft comes out of the gearbox, it doesn't really have anything to stop the up and down movement, and they've got a bit of backwards and forwards, so I literally put a washer behind it, a big one, and it stopped all the up and down, and it took a ton of the back and forth slop out of it too, and it selects gears utterly beautifully. You know, put a little bit of grease in there so it doesn't bind up, but it wasn't like, it still had a couple of thousandths of clearance, so it wasn't going to actually ever be a problem. But that took up a ton of slop out of that gear selector, new bushings in the actual thing, and the other doodads, and this thing selects gears beautifully. Nicer than any other EJ or grey motor with a gearbox, with a crash box in it I've ever driven. Actually, this one's the nicest one yet. Doesn't even whine in first gear. Not that you'd hear it much over the engine, but you know, normally these gearboxes can whine pretty good. I mean, I remember I had my first EJ, I think I went through 3 gearboxes before I found one that wasn't screaming its brains out while you're in one of the gears. But that was a pretty proud moment for me. Never sell your first car, because you'll always regret it, and then you'll spend the rest of your life trying to get it back, and you'll never, whatever car you try to replace it with will never actually be the same. But this is okay. This is actually probably better than my first EJ by a country mile. I remember I built my first EJ from a wreck that I bought from a wrecking yard that no longer exists for $200, and it was stripped out shell, no motor, no trans, nothing, and I built that with next to no knowledge, and I was like, I think I was 14 or 15, and it was a very eye-opening experience. I remember driving that on the road, and I never put gear selector bushings in, and I remember at one point the split pin snapped, and I found a nail on the side of the road and put the nail in to hold it in, you know, actually hold the rod in, like see that split pin there. I put a nail in it and never replaced the nail. You know, you do sorts of stupid things when you're young, but this is miles above that car. Even rust wise, that car had a bit, and this has got none because I fixed it all. But this is a really good car. I'm very happy with how it's going, and being able to drive it again was such a almost an emotional experience to me. You know, projects are a bit of a funny thing. A lot of people bail on projects because they don't realise how big they are. Because if you notice on Gumtree lately, well, not Gumtree, Marketplace, there is a lot of projects for sale at the moment, and going cheap too. A bit of the sign of the times, I've noticed, because nobody has money. But you got to really be committed to doing a project. You got to realise that even when things get tough, it's, you know, you put a lot of effort into it. Sometimes it's just better to just take a break and not waste all that time, money and energy you put into it, and just come back to it with a fresh mind. You know, don't just bin it because it shits you off. Sorry for my French there. Oh, big sausage, eh? Oh, classic Graham. Yeah, don't, if your project's giving you the annoying you, don't just flip up the Monopoly board and say screw this. Just put it aside, do something else, clear your mind, think about it, and then come back to it with a fresh mind. Usually a good sleep app helps that too. Also, you can't do a project thinking about how much it costs, because these things are like throwing money out a window while you're traveling at 100 k's an hour. Just where'd it go? Who knows? It's gone. You can't count coins with projects. And if you do, you won't ever be happy because you're going, oh, it's always costing me money. I mean, I'm bad for that too, but I mean, you just can't. So these are just some of my helpful hints over the years. Also, buy the best car you can at day one, for God's sake. Don't buy a pile of junk that looks like it's going to collapse because it's cheap. You're better off buying something for a lot more because it'll be a lot better, and you won't have to do things like this. This is actually the third EJ I've attempted to restore since trying to find one again. The first one I thought, great, yeah, save it from wrecking yard, $600. Took it apart, and it was toasted front to back, and I was like, well, there goes a ton of money, as you get, counting money. And then I bought the one that Peter Anderson's got, and that was a far better shell. But then I realised that easily fixable if you've got time. I don't have time. Well, I have time, but not loads of time. So I saved up and I bought this one for significantly more. And it's paid off in the long run because it is so much better. There was, I don't have to fix seal panels, I don't have to do the plenum chamber. There's no rust in the boot floor. This quarter panel's perfect. Bit of rust on dog legs, as you saw with all the rust repairs. There was some, more than I thought, but way less than some of the other ones I've had. So better off buying the best one you can. And I've also noticed that, I don't know if it's in all the states, but here in South Australia, good luck getting your car restored anywhere, because every person I know, and I'm in the industry, has got at least a 12-month wait for getting a car restored or even into a shop. And I think that's a sign of the times, really, not just... more of a sign of the times of how bad cars are now. So 10 years ago, the cars we were fixing were really good compared to what we are now. So 10, 15 years ago, the coupes we would have been fixing had very minor rust in them. This day and age, the reason so many parts are available for them is because the cars are totally stuffed. 10, 15 years ago, you would have scrapped them instead of trying to fix them. So that's kind of how it is. And I think that's why all resto shops seem to have a massive wait, is because the cars that are going in are so much worse than they ever have been, which means they take a hell of a lot longer to fix. Sorry about this little rant, but it's just me having a bit of a vent to all you guys who like the stuff. And comment, I do read all of the comments. Rude comments I just ignore or delete. And anybody being offensive I usually just report and ignore. But yeah, so they're my few thoughts on it. I'm pretty happy. I'm just a bit emotional, so I'm talking about it. And the choice of focusing on to doing the mechanicals was such a smart idea. Like, I've still got to do the bodywork, but the bodywork is such a huge task on its own. Also, I didn't have the door skin, so yeah, I'm pushing the proverbial up a hill at the moment. But I had everything to do the mechanicals, and it's easy. So if your project's stagnating, do the stuff that doesn't matter as much. Like engine bays, you don't have to bodywork them too much. Bare metal them, give them a coat of etch, and then put paint on them. Get your engine sorted. They're not hard, more or less. So get it running like this. I mean, yeah, I look at this going, oh, I wish I could finish it, but I can actually start and drive this thing like I just did. So it's not actually that bad. A rolling shell is worse than this now, because this is now a driving shell. So, if your project is stagnated, do the mechanicals, save up and pay someone to do something if you don't want to do it. Particularly bad rust. For safety reasons, for God's sake, pay someone to do it if you don't feel confident in doing it. That's just, I just like helping people with their projects and whatnot, and sometimes advice is also very handy. And you've just had to listen to me ramble on for 10 minutes. So, that's CJ. I might take it over to the car park again a couple more times just for my own sake, off camera. But damn, it's a good feeling. So yeah, I decided to do the dashboard, put it all together. Also, finding all the parts that I took apart 2 years ago was actually also fun. Not fun kind of way. Like the brick to the face kind of way. So, and God, it looks good. So there's enough motivation for you anyway. So at the moment, aside from an exhaust system and a leaking radiator, this car is primo. Obviously you can see there's wiring hanging down, a few things I haven't done, but I can hop into it and move it under its own power, and it stops, which is also a good feeling for a car that rolls. So enough chit chat, paddywhack, give the dog a bone. Let's move on to another project which has also made some progress. Alrighty, and there she is. She's starting to look pretty good. If you're following along my Patreon, XA Coupe Guy on Patreon, you can follow along in finite detail. But I have been making some progress. So we got the fake gun in there. Yes, it is fake. Our gun laws in Australia are pretty damn tight. And that is actually a solid piece of aluminium. I'll show you in a second. Yeah, it doesn't even go all the way through. So yeah, looking good. Made the top hatch, made the hinges, did all that. I've made this hatch completely from scratch. Everything, even, well, obviously I got the round bar, but then shaped it and made the pin, and didn't make the split pin, but made the pivot pin and made all the mounts and did all the fake rivets on the top, because obviously I don't have real rivets or the ability to do them. And it's got the vision port, if I can wind that out. It opens and shuts. Not that you can see much through it anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll go up like that. Yeah. I might shut these and show you what it looks like with it in the shut position. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. When I get the other one in, it'll look pretty damn good actually. I still haven't put the little piece of metal that goes across and actually is the external lock on it, but for a step back and have a look-see, starting to look not terrible. These original hatches, I really think you'd have a better chance of winning the 100 million in the lotto. I really do think you'd have a better chance than finding another one of these. The later style hatches are more common but horrendously expensive. These early style hatches don't exist because this early style tank, there isn't actually a lot of them around, so I've had to make it. I don't think I did a terrible job. I've made a couple of mistakes, but only purists who hate me will pick that. But got to do the other one, and then I think after that we'll start sorting out some of the little details, finish off the skirt around the turret. The actual turret's skirting that's here is missing still. I haven't put that on. Obviously I haven't put the pistol ports in. Yeah, there's tons and tons and tons of little details. Also, I decided I'm going to weld these up, but I'll take them out one by one and put them in the lathe and then put them back in. I realised I actually used my hand and a rattle gun to put them in, but when they welded and then tickled on the lathe, they actually look really good. So that's what I'm going to do with them. I've got to make another brush guard. I've got to try and get some headlights. You can buy the little blackout lights and the tail lights, but headlights are impossibly hard to get. Yeah, it's just lots and lots of little things. So yeah, I thought you'd like that. Obviously it's consuming my spare time fairly spectacularly, although I am trying to get the EJ done as well, so I thought you'd like this. It's not going to be an overly exciting video, but I hope you like it. Nice catch up. When I get some more parts for the EJ, we might do an EJ video, but for now, if you want to follow the tank along in intimate detail, join my Patreon. If not, I'll see you on the next one, chaps.